Hey everybody, this is Coach Jerry live from my hotel room in Kansas City, and I want to welcome you to this week's Friday message. You know, as I travel all over the country, I have a lot of time to myself sitting in hotel rooms, and it gives you time to think and reflect. And as I was really thinking about what I wanted to share today, I decided I'm going to do something a little bit different. And I'm going to share a part of my testimony that I have really never shared before, at least in a public forum. And I haven't shared this because it's a little personal, and it's more of a spiritual-based message today. So this message is not meant to offend anyone, but it's meant to really encourage and uplift your spirits. And I think that there's somebody out there today that really needs to hear this message, and I hope that it will impact and inspire somebody's lives that is listening to it today. But you know, most of you have heard my testimony of, how I got to the place that I'm at. You know, building a successful business, ended up going through a divorce, ended up losing the business that I had, and found myself on the floor of my apartment getting ready to commit suicide. But what I really haven't shared is what happened after that. And after that moment, when I got up off the floor, I went to church for the very first time the following week, and I sat in the back, and I just kind of immersed myself in what was happening. And I felt this peace come over me that I have truly never felt before in my entire life. And I went home, and I took out this Bible that I had, one that I have never looked at, one that I never read, one that I really didn't even know anything about. And I had a conversation with God that day, and I said, if you're here, and if you are protecting me and watching over me and you've got me in the palm of your hands, I'm going to start flipping through the pages of this book. And I want you to show me something in this book that lets me know that you're here with me. And I remember sitting on the floor of my apartment and I started flipping through this Bible. Once again, I pretty much never picked one up, never read one, didn't know anything. All I knew is there was an Old Testament and a New Testament. That's pretty much it. And I started flipping through these pages, and it seemed like an hour, but it was probably a minute or two. And I got to this section, and all of a sudden, I got this burning sensation inside of me. It kind of felt like acid reflux on steroids. I mean, that's really the only way I can describe it. And I stopped and I looked down at these two pages that I was on, and this scripture just came off this page like it was in 3D. And as I read this scripture, I began to weep because I knew in that moment that God had spoke to my spirit, and I knew that everything that the enemy had meant for evil, God was going to somehow turn it around for his good. And this is what the scripture said. I waited patiently for the Lord to help me, and he turned to me and he heard my cry. He lifted me out of the pit of despair, out of the mud and the mire. He set my feet on solid ground, and he steadied me as I walked along. He has given me a new song to sing, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see what he has done and be amazed, and they will put their trust in the Lord. And that was Psalm 40. And that psalm has a very special place in my life. And that psalm changed my life. And as I was reading that today, remembering back, I thought to myself, my gosh, there's a lot of people out in our Facebook land that feel like they're in a pit right now. You're in a pit of despair. You're in a pit of discouragement, a pit of frustration, a pit of anxiety, of worry, of fear, of doubt. We're in some sort of pit. And we're wondering if we're ever going to get out of this pit that we're in. And I just want to encourage you that God hears your prayers, that he knows exactly where you are, and that he will never leave us nor forsake us. That day, he began a work in me that would position me for what I'm doing right now. And I just want each and every one of you to know that sometimes when it looks the darkest in our lives, sometimes when we don't see the forest for the trees, that's when God's doing the greatest work behind the scenes He's preparing us for what He's prepared for us. And I know that somebody out there right now just needed to hear that encouraging word. This is not going to be an epic Friday message, but I think it'll be an impactful one. And just a reminder that when we're in those pits in our lives and we're in those pits in our business, that we just have to believe, have faith, and trust that God is going to work it all out for His good. We got to keep doing the things that we can do, control the things that we control. You know, I've always said, let's do what we can do and let God do what only He can do. And so that is my simple Friday message for today. I hope that somebody out there needed to hear that, and encouraged and inspired somebody. And I want to thank you for tuning in to these messages. And if you would love to see any more of these messages, or maybe where all my champion summits are going to be around the country, I encourage you to go to my website at coaching4champions.com. Thank you once again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you back here next Friday, where I will try to share another encouraging, inspiring message to help you become the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. Have a great week, everyone. Talk to you next week.